Namaskaram. I'm assuming that you guys have seen the part 1 of this 3-part video series. Otherwise, make sure that you watched it before watching this video. In the previous video, we have seen what economic terrorism is. In this video, we will try to know about an economic terrorist. This is George Soros, an American billionaire and philanthropist with a net worth of $8 billion US, and he has already donated $32 billion to an NGO. We will talk about it later in this video. Because of this donation, his media calls him the most generous donor of all time. But he does something else in the name of philanthropy. He destroys economies. To understand this, we have to look at Soros' history first. In 1970, Soros started a hedge fund company. Basically, hedge fund is a trading company which collects huge capital from big investors and banks for trading, and after trading it charges a percentage of the profits as commission. Every hedge fund is driven by a fund manager, who is Soros in this case. So basically, in exchange to fund manager's experience and his low risk high profit strategies, investors give them money to trade. After the World War II, all European economies became stagnant. In order to get out of that situation and to keep the trade stable among themselves, some of those European countries decided to peg their currencies with each other. All of them were fixed to German currency, which is the Deutschmark, because at that time it was the strongest currency out of them. And the name of this policy is European Exchange Rate Mechanism, or ERM in short. Within 8 years, between 1973 and 1980, Soros fund management grew from $12 million to $400 million. This shows that Soros was an extraordinary speculator. Everything was going great, Soros was making huge profits. But sometime around 1990, Soros was looking for faster ways to increase his wealth. In the same time, Soviet Union was dissolved, and as a consequence, Great Britain was facing an economic recession. Despite of that, Britain was trying very hard to fix its currency pound with the German Deutschmark. Inflation in Britain reached its all-time high. People were suffering with hunger. About 32% of the British population fell below the poverty line. Although somehow in October 1990, Britain successfully enters the ERM at an exchange rate of 1 Great Britain pound equals to 2.95 German Deutschmark. From 1990 to 1992, inflation in Britain was decreasing gradually and employment started increasing. The economy was slowly recovering. Right in the beginning of 1992, a financial report was published stating that the Britain pound is overpriced. As soon as the report lands on Soros' desk, he gets ready for an attack. Before every attack, Soros invites a bunch of other speculators to join him in the attack to make sure that he doesn't fail. Fortunately for Soros, right at that moment, a new government was formed in Germany, which has an anti-Britain ideology. This helped him in creating an influence inside the Bundestag. Bundestag is the name of a German parliament, just like we have Lok Sabha. That's it. This was the perfect moment Soros was waiting for. He opens attack on sterling, for which he was preparing since months. Since a few months before attack, Soros lent huge sums of money from Britain, and through this attack he starts converting his pounds into Deutsch. And he does it very aggressively, making a transaction in every 5 minutes. And with every transaction, his profits grew in millions. To save itself from this attack, the Bank of England started buying back pounds using its Deutschmark reserves. Even after buying $2 billion every hour and raising interest levels to an all-time high, it failed to protect the pound from this attack. According to ERM rules, during an attack, the country with the strongest currency of that ERM has to buy the victim currency and save it. But Soros had enough contacts in the German government to paralyze Germany to take action. As the news came out that foreign reserves of Bank of England have been drained, all the speculators led by Soros gave a final blow to the pound in the noon of September 16, 1992. It was over. The Bank of England collapsed. At 7:40 p.m. that day, the British Prime Minister declared that Great Britain left the ERM. Soros made $1 billion out of that attack. And since then, Soros is recognized as the man who broke the Bank of England. In 1997, there was a perception that the currency of Thailand, which is Thai baht, was not strong enough. As soon as he knew about this, Soros spread a public rumor using his global media that the Thai baht was about to fall. Then he started short selling baht in humongous amounts. So in an attempt to save itself from this attack, the Central Bank of Thailand spent $7 billion of foreign reserves. Despite of those efforts and expenses, Thailand was helpless as it was forced to float its currency on July 12, 1997. And as a result of that decision, Thai baht was devaluated. After this, Thailand had lent a large loan from IMF, which it paid later, facing a lot of difficulties. As an outcome of this crisis, the value of Thai baht dropped from $1 equal to 25 baht straight to 56 baht. Soros made upward of $790 million through this attack. Thailand wasn't the only country to be affected here. South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Hong Kong also had to pay the price. And this led to naming this crisis as the Big Asian Financial Crisis. 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami shook Japan and its economy. 15,000 plus casualties, 6,000 plus injured, and a $360 billion infrastructure damage were a result of this calamity. Japan was doing every possible thing to get out of this crisis. And then there is George Soros looking for an opportunity. On November 2012, Soros started shorting Japanese yen, followed by a series of attacks by other speculators, which led to some of the scariest days in Japan's history. Soros fund management made a profit of somewhere between $1.4 to $1.5 billion. Soros has a long record of speculative attacks on various countries, and he was successful most of the time. But what makes him so successful, and what's the difference between the other speculators and him? These are the important questions, because the answer is very interesting and will open everyone's eyes. See you in the next video, where we will discuss about George Soros' secret plan.